Hello and welcome to the Simply Colorful FiberCast. Today's date is June 26, 2015. My name is Lynn and I'm your host. And as you can see, we're back here in the Simply Colorful studio, and I hope that you can hear my voice and you can see the picture because we have a lot to get done in the next 60 minutes. So thank you all for tuning in. FiberCast is just all about getting together on a Friday night and playing with fiber. So tonight what I thought I would do, in addition to bringing you up to date on what's going on in my world, is I want to take all of your emails and your tweets and your posts, and we'll share those. And we're also going to continue work on the camper quilt. Specifically, I'm going to substitute the original red block here that was paper pieced that I did up at the retreat back in March with the new one that my sister Karen did that's much more contrasting white and red, and I just love it. It's much better in this triad. So I'm going to replace that. Then I'm going to put a binding on, literally just a 5-inch scrappy off-white binding, and then I probably will do some of the string piecing to make a border just like is on this spider quilt, if you can see that. So we'll just do lots of random, the same colors that are in the quilt. So it's not going to be a big quilt, but I want to get the top done. And then I'm going to, I have my binding cut out, so that's ready to sew together. And then I'm going to create a backing, just a scrappy backing, and then put it together, and my goal is to finish it in July. So that is what I'm going to work on tonight. Also, before I get started, I wanted to show everyone the flowers that were at my door today. And it was a surprise, a secret delivery of flowers. Bob brought them up to me, and I have since discovered who it was. It's the same brilliant mind here in town who has found 2 time capsules in our town and recently been diving into those, and her name is Jean. You've heard me talk about her. So Jean B out there, thank you for these. I love them. They're beautiful, and I bet they came from your Friendship Perennial Garden. So everyone who over the past couple of months have suggested different flowers, you can see she definitely did the lilies. There was a poppy, didn't last long, but it was beautiful. And then I went out today and I put in some yarrow, and then this pink one that I don't know the name of. So, some pretty flowers. I hope you all have flowers where you are. So we'll leave it there for now. And if it gets in the way, we'll move it. So why don't I just get started, and then I have a couple of things to show you that I have bought. And again, send me your email and pictures of what you're working on to lmarquidant@gmail.com, and I'll spell my last name. I have yet to get a simpler email address, but it's on the list. It's the first letter of my name, L, and then you spell my name M as in Mary, A-R-Q-U-E, D as in David, A-N-T. So lmarquidant@gmail.com, and I think I just heard a buzz. See who's out there. I've been feeling so bad being on the vineyard the last couple of weeks, not being able to see everyone's emails. James Yang, welcome. Welcome to the circle, to Simply Colorful. Anna, hello. She says, just checking in about Instructables. Okay, so this is interesting. Anna just sent a note saying if you'd be interested in a free pro account on Instructables. Instructables is the largest DIY community on the web with over 30 million monthly uniques and 4 million members. Sharing your YouTube projects on Instructables is a great way to grow your audience, plus our upcoming contests offer some cool prizes. And she says, happy making. That's interesting. I didn't know I was going to read that. Let me know, anyone, if you've heard of that. Because I'm definitely, if we're going to do this, we might as well have lots of people join us. Karen says hi. Hi, Karen. Welcome back. Karen is with my mom, and they're doing great. They just spent the day over on the mainland at doctor's appointments, and all went great. So, good job down there, Mom. Passing with flying colors on all of her physical therapy and sitting in the front seat. And the best news of all is that in certain circumstances, Mom can drive again. So that's a wonderful thing. She may end up just driving around the island for a couple of days now that she's free. But that's great news. So while I take this out, and I'm literally just going to take out the old one and inset the new one, maybe I'll put this old one on the back of the quilt. I'd hate to lose all the work. So I want to tell you about my travels. I was out in California this week. Left on a Monday, came back Thursday. The trip out was fine. Just had it wasn't a direct flight. From Boston to Sacramento, it's very expensive. I went through Salt Lake City, and that's how I usually do. I went through via Delta, and it was fine. Well, coming home was not so fine yesterday. And it started out, let's see, left my hotel at 3:50, dropped the car off, took the shuttle to the Delta terminal, only to find out the Delta computers were down. And as far as I know, I have no idea if they're up now. I'm sure they are, but as long as I was in Sacramento and I was delayed, they did not come back up. And as you might imagine, it was multiple trips up and down from TSA back to the Delta ticketing agents who had one computer in the back room, one ticket printer in the back room. They ultimately printed tickets. There were like 5 or 6 agents taking care of all of the customers. The agent would go behind the curtain, and they would all queue up on this one printer, and then one by one they would come out and bring us our tickets. So you can imagine how long that took. Then when I got up to TSA, they looked at my ticket and said I didn't have the right barcode. I had to go back down. So I went back down, stood in the lines, went back up, got through. Flight left late. Ultimately, I missed my connection in LA, and then had to get routed from LA to Atlanta and then up to Boston. So all in all, and I arrived home at about 2 o'clock this morning. And, and traffic leaving Logan Airport was unbelievable. All of the summer crews are out working on the roads, which is good that we're getting the roads work done. But of course, and I guess there had been lots of traffic jams around rush hour. So all of the arteries and the connections into Boston had been clogged for hours, and it was clogged literally at 1 o'clock in the morning. And there were 6 of us in a van, and anywho, I was glad to get home. Bob and the dog were doing great, and boy, was I glad to see them. So that was my trip. Good meetings while I was out there. I hope you all have had a good week. Oh, but I saw the most amazing thunderstorms on the flight up from Atlanta to Boston. I don't know if anyone else has seen thunderstorms from the air. That was pretty impressive. I tried to take a video, but it really didn't come out that well. But the pilots literally swung the plane around the big clouds that were having just repeated lightning strikes. And I couldn't hear any booms from where we were, but I don't remember ever seeing that long or that intense of a storm from the air. It was neat. And it wasn't raining when we were flying in the area we were. But like I said, we kind of scooted around the storms right up the East Coast. And I have to tell you, speaking of no rain, it is very dry out in Northern California. It's one thing to hear about it, and we've all been hearing on the news about the dryness. It's another really to see the fields and just how yellow they really are. So hope for rain in that region. And for those of you out there, keep on conserving. You're doing great. I hope you all have something in your hands that you're working on. For those of you who may not have been with us the last couple of weeks, I've been working on dolls. And I have a couple of things to show you around on that front. And I have a class tomorrow in Worcester to make a doll that I think I mentioned a month ago. And it was pretty classic for those of you who like craft supplies like I do. I finally looked at my supply sheet today at about 4 o'clock, and realized that half of the things I need I had left down at the vineyard. So that meant I had an excuse to go to Joann's and Michael's. And I used my mobile apps for coupons. I highly recommend that. If you haven't downloaded the mobile coupons, you should. For Joann's and for Michael's. No, AC Moore. AC Moore. And I'll show you just how easy it is. So here on my iPhone, in the middle, you see the J and the M. J, M. If I just click on one, let's say Joann, I'll launch that app. And they literally offer, it's an advertisement, but it's very selective to us, and you can get on the coupons. And today, for example, the best one I could find was 20% off my total purchase. And I just clicked on it, and then that barcode, she just swiped the cash register on it. It's available for one more day in 3 hours and 46 minutes and 58 seconds. Similarly, I'll show you Michael's just for kicks. Michael's had 40% off one regular priced item. And again, that barcode, she just swiped it. So I might as well just get to my best purchase of the day. For those of you who, I know this is not getting my camper quilt done, but last week I worked on my first ball-jointed doll. And I posted one picture that I'm not sure everyone saw, but just to give a feel. Oh no, it's not on that one. Hang on. Photos. Oh yeah. So that is the start of the ball-jointed doll. And it's made out of Sculpey clay, and in the corner you can see the drawing, I wanted to say mannequin. That's kind of what it is. It's a mannequin about that tall, and it has all of its joints, and it's a good way to learn how to figure draw, and you can position it and use. I'm using it as a model for this. Well, it's ultimately, I think it's 12 inches tall. And I'm going to make it this size, but I kept thinking, I'm really liking the little pocket dolls, hand pocket dolls, so you can hold in your hand and really feel that. So, don't you know, there I am at Joann's, and look at what I found. It is a 5.5 inch, mannequin. It is a mannequin. And I couldn't be more excited. Oh, it springs in it. I can move the feet. I can sit down. So anyway, another doll to play with, and after I make my big one, I'll use this as a model for the little one. Isn't that great? So, why did I go to this? Oh, because I used my coupon. It was full price. This one was not on sale, and so I got 40% off. I think that's how it worked. So I'm pretty excited about that. And let's see, enough shopping. I guess I should insert this into here. And I'm going to use pins. Oh, I'm going to take out the old thread. And I'm going to iron the seam open. You see this? Excuse me. Okay. Iron this. I hope everyone is winding down a little bit and able to enjoy their summer. And I wanted to shout out to everyone who's up at the Vermont Quilt Festival. Be on the lookout for that Batchelder family quilt. Okay. You all might remember this was the block that Karen was sitting next to me, and she started last time she was here for the Frozen Four hockey tournament. Seems like so long ago, but it really wasn't that bad. It was April. Okay. There, so I have that pinned. I haven't used this machine in a long time. Okay. Back her up. I'm going to reduce the size of my stitch to 2.0. Feels good to get back with the Bernina. Hello, baby. Oh, we may need to move these flowers. There, you can still see a little bit. All right. There's one. I'm going to set the seam. And then iron her open. And then I think what I'll do is I will sew this seam, and then I'll fold it over and sew the other seam. Oh, thank you to everyone who has been sending me the camper quilt that was on Keepsake Quilting's catalog. Wasn't that a fun one? And the fabrics that they're coming out with are fun too. Cases like this, when I inset seams, I usually pin. And take out as we go. Okay. There we go. If Carol is out there, it was so nice to see you and your boys last Father's Day. Go. Okay, so now we have the two ends done. I'm going to set the seam, which is just sewing or ironing right on the seam closed. And then we'll iron it open. Okay, now what I'm going to do is kind of forgot that this side is the end. I needed to leave 1/4 of an inch unsewn. Okay. This is where if we had a GoPro cam overhead or on my head, I could show you this up close. Okay, and we'll use our pins. Oh, it was so nice to see Sue Norton out visiting her parents and her grandparents and checking out the big quilt store. I hope you didn't do too much damage. I bet you didn't. Okay. Take my pin out so I don't go over it. Whew, it is nice to get back to this machine. Okay. Oh, it's fitting beautifully. I like when that happens. Okay. Now we may have to sew this together. Yep. There will be more going on in the next section when I put together the binding. Oh, I just goofed. In my haste to finish up a seam, I caught a piece of the muslin underneath it. Classic. There's my seam ripper. Ooh. There we go. So I hope you're all working on some fun things or just planning a fun summer weekend. Definitely the kickoff. Let me see. There it is. I know I need to get the right tool when I start to make a clip in the muslin. I don't know if you can hear it, but the band is playing tonight. Boy, they love to play. I tell you, I think people work harder today. I think. Let me see if this is true. I think people that I see these days are more stressed out about work than they used to be. I'm not sure we're putting in as long hours, but it's seems more stressful in the hours we do, if that makes sense. Like when I was first starting out, I I commuted from Massachusetts to New Hampshire every day, or I commuted from Worcester to Boston every day. Hours and hours. And then it was nothing. I worked until 7, I'm sure, most nights, at least. And but I always, I was young, I was learning, and I was cheap labor, frankly. And then the world changes and you get old and you're working away and you realize, uh-oh, other people who are working beside you have new skills, different skills. So you have to learn new skills, which has always been the way, right? I guess. Ugh. Anywho, one of the team building exercises we had to do when I was out on the West Coast this week, and it was just a internal team meeting, so I guess there were a couple of consultants, but there weren't any customers or partners there, really. Just a couple. It was kind of interesting, actually. I don't know what his official title was, but he was in charge of the computers at the California correctional facilities for all of California. And he worked with my company on a project over the course of the last 5 years to digitize all of the inmates' records and offender information. And they literally did it they had to be very careful because of privacy issues. And so they literally, what they were describing is it was a multi-year process of going from paper to digital. And for like 700 of the most violent criminals, they have yet to do that because they're so concerned with the leakage of the digital files. So those are all stored at San Quentin and locked up, the 700 most terrible inmates. Anyway, the rest of the folks have all been digitized and the original paper documents have been burned. And apparently what they would do is they would actually do the scanning in a truck outside of the facility. So the truck would come up, it would have computers and scanners inside it. The wardens would bring out the files, and they had a big check-in, check-out system. And so I'm sure it was quite the process that they had to keep control of. So he was there as well as another person was on the phone from the federal government who is looking at, I think he's with the Department of Homeland Security, and also looking at ways to protect the public and using technology to do that. And he was big on stadium and crowd control and using video to keep control of that. Anywho, that's a long-winded way to say we were there at this meeting, and one of the icebreakers was we were asked what was our favorite TV show on one morning, and then the next morning we were asked what was our favorite music. And we went around the room, and of course I definitely watch a lot of TV, so that was easy for me. But I don't really listen to a lot of music. But anyway, what I discovered was all of the people in the room were definitely of my generation or older, because all of the songs they mentioned were from the 70s and the 60s. And I found it quite funny that I could relate to all the songs, so that was good. I don't know why I mentioned that. Just pulling this off. Okay, let's see how we did. I think once we iron it, it will be good as gold. Then we can get to the binding. The first binding, anyway. Oh, Karen, if you're out there, what a beautiful square you did. It's gorgeous. I was thinking, KB, while we're together on the vineyard, maybe we should make a summer quilt. Just an idea. In fact, I have one all cut out that's been behind me. Every single FiberCast, right behind me, right over here. I saw the pattern in, maybe it's McCall's Patchwork. And I cut out scraps for it. Now I'm just setting the outside edge, which really doesn't look great. It was too close to the edge. There we go. Okay. So there we are. There's the camper quilt. And it still needs lots more adornments and embroidery and applique. But now I just want to make a binding for it, or a border. Oh, excuse me. Oh. Okay. So I have random 5-inch squares. It's not going to be very colorful. It's kind of white on white on white. But I'm literally just going to sew them all together and intersperse these 5-inch by 5-inch ones that were in a charm pack. Oh, feels good to scream on the machine. I have a couple of very long ones, and I'm going to leave them long just because it's in keeping with the rest of the quilt, I figure. Definitely a good opportunity to just chain piece, right? So who is gearing up for any of the mystery quilts? I haven't seen Bonnie Hunter talk much about her mystery quilt. I suspect she's doing one again. And I saw Marquet is working on hers again. It looks beautiful. I love how precise you are, Marquet. Excuse me. I tell you, the mystery quilt that we made this spring, I love. Bob and I have it on our bed, and it's just great. It's that very lightweight cotton batting, and I've washed it already, and it washes beautifully. Oh, excuse me. Oh. It's always something over here, isn't it? The good news is I'm not contagious through the FiberCast. Okay, let's see if we can now. See, so we have long flags. I'm just going to cut them apart and then randomly sew them together again. So, for the next 2 days, now that I'm back up here in Massachusetts, I actually signed up a long time ago to go to that 2-day doll making class with Catherine Walmsley, Walmsley. And we're going to make a doll called Mary Lou Spoonflower. And it's that doll that is reversed, whereby the body is made out of fabric, although the appendages, I think, are made out of dowels, so I don't know how that works. But then her clothing is actually sculpted out of clay. So as you guys know, I'm into clay right now, so it's a perfect fit. And she'll have to have fiber hair. So I will definitely show everyone what we do next week. I probably should ask her for her permission, though. In fact, I'll do that this weekend. Make sure she's okay with that. We live in interesting times, don't we? Okay. Oh, I experienced my first Delta Sky Club location in the airport. Highly recommend it. And for those of you who already go to it, I'm sure you're saying, yeah, it's pretty nice. Basically, for frequent flyers, or for people who have a American Express, probably a Platinum Club card or something, there's a special place you can go in the airport, and it is so cool. The one in LA was really cool. It was big, overstuffed but modern chairs, and the lighting was cool, and there was free food and drink and reading material, and it was lovely. It was clean. And I think you got early boarding. They would call you when it was time to board your plane. And I'd always seen these people show up, you know, and kind of be whisked onto the plane in the last couple of times I've flown Delta. And now I understand how that works. And the way that I got to experience it was during the delay in Sacramento yesterday morning. One of my coworkers was flying, and he has a Platinum card, or he's a Sky Miles member, or Sky Club member, whatever it is. And when our flight was delayed, he invited me to come in, and it was very nice. Excuse me. Getting there. This will definitely go, should go all the way around. And if it doesn't, I'll just find some more tan fabric to sew right on. So I should see who's out there if anyone is. Oh, it just feels so good to zip along. Let me do that after I sew this together. Then we'll have one long piece. These prints are very subtle, but I like them. It's tone on tone, and it looks good up close. It makes for an excellent backdrop for embroidery and applique of our camper quilts. Whew. So, who is out there? Maureen in Pennsylvania says, I'm addicted to charm packs. Anyone else? They are great, aren't they? They take the guesswork out of it, and they look beautiful, the colors. Definitely. In fact, these, just to share a little bit of what came in these charm packs. I don't know if you can see that. And then there's a polka dot one. That's what I wanted to ask you, and there are two more. So I was thinking, and actually this came up at Father's Day when we were with part of the family, and Carol was there with her husband, my brother-in-law, Dean, and we were talking about FiberCast and what we were working on, and he suggested all of us doing the same quilt, and I explained, well, the mystery quilts are one way in which, for anyone who decides to participate at the end, we all sort of have a quilt that looks like. And he said, yeah, that's kind of neat, but what about all of you knowing the pattern ahead of time, and then all of you making it together, and literally we could figure out a round robin with the Google Hangout so that you could really sign in and we could share our blocks. And I think the way it works is that we would all log in, and Patty down in Texas, maybe you and I and Karen, and maybe Sarah and Jean and Chris practice it first. But if we're all presenters, anytime one of us talks, which could be a nightmare, but if we are careful not to talk, two people talk at the same time, but whomever's talking, their picture comes up and everyone else can see it. So if we were all working on the same quilt, we could say, okay, I worked on the first block this week. Let me show you my progress, and here's mine. And then Patty down in Texas would say, hi, everyone, this is Patty in Texas. Here's mine. You know, we could go round robin. That might be fun. And what we could do, Maureen, in Pennsylvania is maybe we all pick either the same charm pack, and maybe we even contact the manufacturer and ask them to donate a charm pack or 5 or 10. So that's what I was thinking, and I didn't know if anyone had a feel for which. So Maureen, I guess the question is, are there certain manufacturers of charm packs that you're liking right now versus others, or even a certain pattern? That might be something fun to do. So anyway, welcome, Maureen. Glad you're here. Let's see who's out there. Aww. Speaking of Patty, she says, welcome back. Thank you, Patty. Hi. She says, so good to see you back. I'm working on a friendship quilt for a friend that's moving. And she said, I've also worked on my Bonnie Hunter mystery quilt while waiting on fabric that I ordered to come in. Just need borders on Bonnie's. I've got to finish the friendship quilt, Patty says, as I leave to go see my granddaughter in PA. Oh, that'll be fun. And it's always good to have a deadline, right? That will make it work. I'm curious if it's the same granddaughter who had her tonsils out. I'm sure she's fine now, but that'll be fun. Good time to go see her. And she says, it's good to have you back, Patty in Texas. Thank you. Ah, Sue writes in about the big quilt store in Branson. She said it was pretty big. Had a place for husbands to sit. No way. Over on one side of the store in some old church pews. That's great. Don got tired of watching the video on how to free motion quilt. So after about 45 minutes, he came looking for me. I didn't want to leave. LOL. Damage wasn't too bad. You know, good. I'm glad you went to see it, and that's a funny story. Most times when I take Bob to a fabric store, it doesn't go well. He's always he wants to leave much before I do. Lorna, hi! She says, happy Friday, glad to see you back in your studio, and happy to hear your mom is doing so well. Just wanted to say hi, take care, Lorna. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you're out there. Oh, and Jean just dialed in. She says, I'm just getting home and tuning in. She says, it's so great to see you back in the studio. Well, Jean, take care of that cold and sleep in tomorrow. I know. I have to show you. The flowers you dropped off are beautiful. Thank you. I showed them earlier, and then I moved them out of the way. I'm glad you're back. Who else is out there? That just popped up while I was reading my email. The message came in, so there are more of you out there. So glad. Oh, Becky Roche. I'm so glad you're out there. How are you? She says, I'm working on a paper piecing project using Sam Hunter's book, Quilt Talk. I'm going to download it. She sent us a picture. Oh, isn't that neat? Quilt Talk, 12 chatty projects. Paper-pieced alphabet with symbols and numbers. And look at that. Can you see it? It says Y-O-U. Oh, how fun will having that at your fingertips be? Imagine like around this quilt, the camper quilt. Wouldn't that be neat if I could write a poem to go around it? That's fun. Quilt Talk. And again, this is Sam Hunter's book, Quilt Talk. Oh, Maureen says, this is funny. Speaking of men in church pews out in Branson, she says, I usually see men sleeping in their cars in the Joanne parking lot. Oh, too funny. Oh, so true. I said hello to James and Mark and Myra and Suzanne and Edward and Carolyn. Welcome. Welcome to Simply Colorful FiberCast. So glad you could join us. Remember, FiberCast is all about what we can accomplish in 60 minutes. So I best get working on my last 10 or 15 minutes here, because the last couple of weeks I really haven't made much progress, and this is going to feel good. So now that I have my long string, I'm literally going to start sewing it around the edge of my camper quilt, and then I'm going to cut it off at each. Maybe I'll do, let's see, what do I want it? I'll do each side first. Totally random. I'm going to leave a little at the end so I can square it up. And I'm not even going to pin it. Just going to make sure to feed it under straight and 1/4 of an inch. Doesn't the machine sound good? It purrs! So I had to laugh when I was in Joann's again tonight buying more silly clay for this class. I so very carefully left the clay that I had bought last time I came off island. I left it at my mother's house so I could use it the next time I'm there. And I forgot all about this class I'm taking. Oh, and I know KK's out there, and Jennifer Dale, and Peggy. Thank you all for your notes. Maybe we should make maybe a charm square quilt, or maybe some pillowcases. Has everyone updated their summer pillowcases? I find pillowcases are really fun to make if you find a piece of fabric that you just think is yummy. And it can be on the bargain table. It might have a really good hand, might be really thick, or it can be an extra special print that you just love the print or the colors. One year, my friend Chris, who might be out there, hi Chris, hi Abby, she made pillowcases for all of Bob's and my nieces and nephews, and she embroidered their name along the edge of each pillowcase. And I have to tell you, I heard that a lot of the kids use those pillowcases for several years. In fact, it might be time to do some more. All right, so now I'm switching over to the other side. Someone driving by. Oh, I know what I wanted to tell everyone. If anyone likes black and white quilts that are very graphical in nature, and it's kind of, it looks like a big lap-size quilt. Lima Whitty, who is a really accomplished artist, has made a quilt that they're raffling off at her rescue farm. And I will post that on the Simply Colorful website. And what I like, it's very simple. It's black and white squares, and then in the middle, she has one green sheep block. And boy, I'd love to win that quilt. Anyway, it's to raise money for, they have some new sheep that have come into the farm, and just to help them with their new location. They've recently moved, and what they do is they rescue horses, sheep, maybe pigs they rescue too. And I know she and her daughter very much just do a lot with that organization and enjoy it, feel good about it. Okay, so in this one little place, you may remember our outhouse. Remember the outhouse we made? I'm actually going to embed it in this seam, so it'll be down at the bottom of the quilt. And I need to make sure to fold over the edges that I have to applique in. There we go. We'll do this one too. And we are good to go. Good to go. We may only get 2 sides done. Or maybe 3. Okay. That. Give it a little extra. Let's go one more. before I sew that on, let me show you the doll that I'm going to make in this class in the next 2 days. So again, it's Catherine Walmsley, Walmsley, and we're doing it in Worcester with the Textile Tarts, and she's called Mary Lou Spoonflower, and that is the model, and I believe it's 13 to 14 inches tall, and the actual dress there that you see is made out of clay. Whoops! How did I do that? So that is going to be kind of interesting. So I wanted you to know that's where I'll be. So unfortunately, Jean, I can't sleep in, but I missed the last doll class and that I had signed up for down in New Jersey, and I just really want to do it. So I'm at least going to go there tomorrow, and if I'm still sneezing and stuff, I'll just get the directions and go home, because the last thing I want to do is get others sick. But that's my current plan. So I'll finish up this one side. I'm feeling good about what we got done. I hope you can hear me better despite the cold. And I'm just so glad that you're all out there and making the most of your Friday night. Hi to Sandra out there, and Joyce's, and Cindy. And I mentioned KK, I think, but hi to KK. And Lorna, of course. And to folks over in the UK, hi to you. Sharon. You probably won't see any more progress on this quilt this weekend, but I will definitely post progress on the doll. And next weekend will be the night before the 4th of July, so we'll have to do something patriotic and red, white, and blue for those of us in America. Hopefully those of you in other parts of the world can still enjoy our blueberries and strawberries and whipped cream delights that we always like to make at this time of year. That's something to look forward to next week. So, which is always a good thing to do. Keep looking forward, looking for the fun, looking for the good times. Do what you love to do. And always, it's amazing what we get done in 60 minutes. Thanks for joining me here in the Simply Colorful Fiber Studio. And I will see you next week, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard, right here again. Thanks for joining. Bye, everyone.